Today we look at a critical issue facing our nation's education sector, or as it stands, the alarming lack of, proper care for millions of Nigerian children. From overcrowded classrooms, we've seen outdated curriculum. Students have been denied access to toilet facilities in some cases. Remember the video we started the show with yesterday. We can all agree that the education crisis in Nigeria isn't just a ticking time bomb, and it's detonating as we speak. Stakeholders are sounding the alarm and reforms can no longer wait. Joining us to discuss this very critical issue this morning is Ronke Adeniyi, Director and Parent Coach, Porche School. Good morning and thank you for joining us.
Good morning. Thanks for inviting me.
Good morning.
So yesterday we started the show with a bit of anger, not a bit, a lot of anger actually, at a certain video, which we're going to start with, just to refresh your memory. It was a parent accosting a proprietor or a headmistress, I'm not quite sure, about her 4-year-old who pooped herself. And she pooped herself, unfortunately, because there was a toilet ban. But let's take a look at the video.
Arrested. You know what they do? You should be arrested. Old people, they wear diaper. Get diaper for her. You beat a 4-year-old preschooler for pulling on her body. I did not scream at you. I came here as a normal person. But you think the only way you can speak is to shout. Do you need to shout to be heard? Yes. You need to shout to be heard. I find the conversation irritating. Which conversation do you find it irritating? I find it more irritating that you beat my 4-year-old for pulling on herself.
I think the first way to start to be all the issues you can highlight from this video.
Am I one of your teachers that you call what's that English that you used to call your parents ungrateful? I pay for the service you render. And I tell you, next time that what you do is to do what? To care for. You told her, and she told me. Yeah, I will call you to come. Because you said you should have called her mother to come and clean the mess. If I complain about the lack of cleaners, is it not my right? I don't want a situation. It's better for us to manage what we have than not to have at all. That does not mean you tell 4-year-old preschooler that they should not poo in the school. Never been through before in the 46 years of existence, and it tells you the situation of things out there. It does not just tell me. It tells me that you don't treat your cleaners well, and that's why they don't stay. Well, come and do the job. Why will I come and do the job? Come and sit down there for one day and see what they go through. Why will I come and do the job? She's not the only child in the school, you know. She's not the only one in the school. But you beat my child. What right do you have to beat? What right do you have to beat? How do you discipline such? And what right do you have to beat a 4-year-old? She has never put on her body. Oh, really? I don't believe so. Because you don't believe so? Has it ever happened? Please, miss it.
I think a first way to start, I can see the look of disgust on your face. But let's highlight all the issues that are evident in this video.
Okay, so as we can see, there are many issues there. I probably won't even be able to highlight everything. First of all, is empathy. I don't see the empathy going on there. There's a challenge with the communication, the way that they're communicating. The lady's carrying on her laptop. She's not really interfacing properly with the parents. She's not really showing any regard. So there's no customer care, no customer service. The listening skills are not there. They're yelling at each other. Empathy is really important. It's not seen in that video. The care is not seen in that video. Attention to detail. You know, she should get up and try and. It shouldn't even get to that. You know, there are just so many issues. Smacking a child for answering the call of nature. It's a big one. I know that a lot of things are happening in schools, but I didn't realize that it had denigrated to this level. So, yeah.
I noticed from your designation when we introduced you, it says director and parent coach. What's the work of a parent coach? I'm just getting that.
So I work with parents. So in my journey as an educator, I realized that it's not just the job of the school, and we have to carry the parents along. And parenting is not innate in many cases. People assume that parenting is innate, but it's not. So I work in the capacity of a neuro-linguistic practitioner, like pretty much a therapist, helping parents understand child development, stages of development, and the things that happen to children. Expectations, just like this one. This is an expected behavior of a child. And a school should know that. They should understand early child development. And this is not even an early child development thing, because even the head of school or head teacher, principal, whatever designation she has, could also have that emergency and needs to use the restroom. It's a human need. It's a call of nature. Nothing anybody can do about it.
So why do we have situations like this? I know that via your platform, you always call out bad behavior and the irregularities in the education sector because you're looking for a reform. You're pushing for, better standard and quality of education. That is not reflective or indicative of a great standard of education, not just because, first of all, from the video, there's allegedly a toilet ban. And even if there wasn't a toilet ban, you can't you can't beat a 4-year-old baby because she pooed herself. It's like we mentioned earlier, it's a call of nature, and it can call on you anytime, even whilst we're on this set.
Absolutely.
So what is it that emboldens teachers, proprietors, institutions to constantly not prioritize? Because I'm going to go to other cases of negligence within the country. But what is it that causes us to see this repetition, this impunity with which they treat parents, not realizing that these parents are the ones they're your clients. They're the reason you can pay your teachers. They're the reason you can pay yourself and you can continue in business.
See, it's not the reflective of the way they treat parents. It's just the way that they treat people. So it's not that they are selective of. So if that person probably goes to the market and has an incident, that would be the natural response. Now, there's an elephant in the room that we have failed as Nigerians to see. That there's an education crisis. There's a teacher crisis. There's a lot going on, and we're pretending not to know that we have an issue with the educators. Now, the typical educator in Nigeria is someone that does not understand child development. It's someone that has cheated their way through the system. We have times when we go through 300 CVs, we can't even pick 4 or 5 CVs from there. We have issues where teachers cannot spell Tuesday, they can't do a year 4 test and pass it. And then we expect, this grandiose service. You're not going to get it. We know that they cheat. When you talk about it on social media, that who know they do now? We all do.
Very defensive.
Very defensive. They protect this bad behavior, and then we want to expect that when these people run these schools, they will give us, this 5-star, 7-star service.
You cannot give what you do not have.
You can't give what you do not have. There is a challenge in the educational system in Nigeria, and that's why we are seeing things like that. And then we also have this case of, everybody's saying that, So any bad behavior that has nothing to do with anything, and this is not a reflection of who I support or who I don't support. I'm just saying that any bad behavior, we blame it on the government. Now, you are the government of that school, and you are telling the children that they can't use the restroom. Who does that? Do you know what I'm saying? They can't use the restroom. So for me, I looked at that, I watched that video over and over again. I interpreted to the point where I was thinking, who made the decision? Was it a collective decision that one person can't even, nobody even said, what if? So we can't continue to say, cost of living is expensive, and as a result, that's the result, we are closing the toilet. You can't hire people in the restroom. Just say early years. In fact, I don't even know who won't need the toilet. Everybody will need the toilet. Just close the school or find something else, because they will need to use the restroom. Telling the mother that she should put the baby in diapers. A 4-year-old that is neurotypical and has no challenges should be in diapers. Why? And the mother said, my daughter doesn't have this accent. This is just a one-off. And then what has that? The issues are just so deep. They're so deep. And it's, the last issue that we had, and everyone was saying a teacher smacked a child repeatedly for not writing a particular number. People went on and on. And I was calm about it, because that day I even wrote on my video, on Instagram, I said, do you know how many children in Nigeria? I'm sure I can put everything I have down and put it and bet that over 1 million children in Nigeria will have experienced that particular act on that day. Because violence is a culture of Nigerians. We are moving on the road, you see a police officer, you are scared. Husband and wife, they are fighting between each other. In the schools, in the officers, everywhere you go, bosses are shouting. It's an angry collection of people. And that's why we are seeing these sort of things happening to our children. So we have to do something about it. If we don't put money into the education sector, train people, pay them well, ensure that their mental health is intact, we're going to get this response.
Very important.
We seem to also have a big challenge in the educational sector, like you've mentioned. But what do you think the government can do to address this? I mean, gone are the days, they used to say if you're attending public school, it was like the biggest thing. And now we're starting to see the takeover from, private institutions, private schools, because we do not have enough in the public schools. what do you think the government needs to do to get that balance and ensure that things like this don't repeat itself?
Okay, so I get the question, government schools, but I just want to correct something that I can also bet that is a private school.
I agree.
Yes.
So it's not a public school, it is just insanity going on in the country right now. So it's not a public school. In fact, I'm sure that there are some public schools that will do better than this.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
So this is not a public school. So the government, we need to put money into the educational sector. We need to train our teachers. We need to ensure that they actually know the content of what they are expected to do and also expected to deliver. Because if you understand stages of development, if you understand how a child, a human being, should grow and what they should need at age 4. At age 4, I mean, there are children that are 5, 6, 7 and still have the occasional accidents. There are children that are 7, 8 years old, they're on the trampoline, they're jumping out of excitement, they poo on themselves, not because they're not potty trained, but they just don't want to leave the play. And you're going to say you're not going to clean them up and things like that. So the government needs to ensure that that training is happening. A lot of people say, put money, put money. Now, if you pay that person 10 million, that mindset is still there. They need a mind shift, a complete makeover, an overhaul of the mindset of the Nigerian teacher. They need psychiatric evaluations, and I'm one of them. Come and analyze me if you want. I mean, I can put myself down so that we can just ensure that all the children and everybody were in a better place. Because I think there's a mental health crisis, undiagnosed, and a lot of people are moving. I want to be careful with my words on. A lot of people are moving.
Challenges.
You know, the challenges are many.
With mental challenges.
You know, with mental health challenges.
So you're talking about the part of the teachers in this case and the educators.
Yes, so people are angry.
And I want us to also talk about some of the trainings that you think need to be had. And I ask this because when I was much younger, at some point I was privileged to have experienced what it feels like to be a teacher, even though my 2 co-hosts have disrespected my career in the past.
One teacher taught almost 6 subjects.
That is your business. That was what it was back in the day. But in the course of teaching, I recognized that there were some students, there was a particular pupil who found, you would tell him to spell orange, he would say KWF. He couldn't put words together. Not until I grew older did I realize that there were people who were dyslexic. So what kind of trainings, what kind of awareness, you know, how aware are we of neurodivergent children? You know, are these conversations that are already being had, and how can we ensure that this education, you know, cuts across the whole nation?
Okay, if they just go through the curriculum, if they just go through the content, everything is there, Olive. Everything is absolutely there. It's because they're not going through it. It's there. Sign is there. Special education needs is there. There's nothing that people don't know.
On paper.
So, on paper. So it's just like having values in the school, and you have values written on the wall, and so these are value leadership, this honesty, integrity, you know, empathy could probably be on the wall of such a school. Now, there's a living document, and there's one that is just static on paper. What are you living and breathing in your school? If we go through that curriculum, and we go through it, we will see that there's special education needs. But generally, even as a nation, how do we treat children that have additional needs? You know, we exclude them. The inclusion is not there. We exclude them, even public spaces, for them to move about in their wheelchairs, if at all they have access. You know, how do we actually treat them as a culture in the nation? So if a teacher does not go through the curriculum and understand what is going on there, they won't know what to do with it. And I heard you say something about when we were young, our teacher used to teach us 6 subjects, all the subjects, blah, blah, blah.
Olive.
And that is the way it should be. I want to put that out here. I'm glad that this came up. Especially in the early years, there's a place of nature and nurture. So I know that in many big schools now, they will say, somebody should teach math, The reason they are doing that is because they don't have the proficiency, they don't have the skill set to teach all the subjects. They don't know it. So you don't want to disgrace your school, so you get somebody that has mastery. When one teacher is teaching somebody in the early years, or children up to 8 years in a primary school, they become local parentis. They become the mother of the child. You don't want to be taking a 4-year-old to this teacher, that teacher, that teacher, that teacher, that teacher. No, it's wrong. And this goes to those very big schools that are hiding. Instead of us to come out and talk and we have a crisis, one teacher should be teaching.
Thank you very much for spending on that. I knew Olive was right.
Okay.
Wow. All of a sudden, you knew I was right. Because they were arguing that all schools had one teacher per subject. And I was saying no, that when I was a teacher, you know, I taught all the subjects. I had a class. But then again, just to go back, you're talking about how some of these special trainings are there on paper, the special education needs. Does that then mean that means of hiring teachers? Because I wasn't a trained teacher per se. A number of us would either finish NYSC or you finish secondary school. Somebody would say, oh, come and teach my children lesson and stuff like that. What's your thought on the mode of hiring teachers? And then, do you think that NYSC core members should be hired as teachers or designated as teachers to schools?
The way we are now, where we have reached now, what I tell people that even parents should join the educational sector. They should volunteer. What we have now cannot solve the problems in Nigeria. Say, for example, yes, there's a huge gap. The teachers can't meet up in 100 years. Did you see some children in China doing surgery, you know, practicing how to do stitches and stitch? Did you see little children doing stuff like that online? You know, where are we going to start with our own curriculum? And it's not even Nigerian curriculum, because even the British curriculum don't have that in it. So let's not even start dishing our curriculum right now. There's a lot of work to do. We have experts in the sector. We have people that are machine learning, artificial intelligence, all these different things that have come up online now, that they're not teaching in any school, any university, or any teacher training college. It is the parents that know these things that need to come and volunteer, create a curriculum for that place, create a course or something. We need to, you know, really do things differently. We need to shake up the system. All this, when we go there, we do vocational and we're teaching things, typewriter and all those things that we are doing. Outdated things. We need to wake up and we need to understand that things have to be overhauled.
Do you think that we need to change our curriculum?
No.
And I'm saying this because, I mean, countries like Japan and so on, the formative years of the children, the first 3 years, they focus on no tests, no scores, no first, no second. They focus on morals, like you said. They engage in, you know, getting skills. I mean, I've seen videos. I'm in love with these videos. When you watch them, you see a child as young as 4 years. They've learned how to, you know, be a chef. They know how to cut, wash they have the rubber knives. They teach them. And they learn morals, how to greet, how to keep your surrounding clean for the first 3 years or so before they advance. Exactly. So, don't you think Nigeria needs that now? Because you mentioned, I mean, everybody in Nigeria is angry. So if you don't teach your children, they're going to be the next set of generation. Don't you think we need to review the curriculum in some way?
Review it for all you care. Review it. Who is going to deliver it?
Implement it.
Who is going to do it? Is it the people that have this angry mindset that are going to read it and study? Now, there's University of YouTube. Everything is on there. You don't even have to review the curriculum before. Once I see something online, I'm throwing it into the group in the school and say, guys, show these kids this thing. See what their mates are doing there. If you don't have a positive mindset, if you don't have a growth mindset, you're not going to be able to deliver any. Bring the curriculum from China, Japan, Finland, join it together and give the typical Nigerian teacher that is all they're thinking about is who's going to give me the next 5K in the next school. How are they going to deliver that?
Now, we've reached a crisis point from what you said. It's even beyond a crisis point. What will it take to stop this rot and say, guys, boss, let's have a hard reset and start doing things properly? Because I'm sure there are people that have started schools as a result of this and want to do things differently. But we need a collective, we need a mass, we need a critical mass to be able to drive change across the nation. What will it take?
It's going to take a significant lot. We need people that are game changers in the ministry. We need people that are going to tear everything and say, let's do this again. You know, people are not going to be saying, oh, let's do, we must have registers on paper. Say, for example, every school is expected to have tick sheets in that register when there's automation going on, where people can use biometrics to sign and everything. You still, in Nigeria, need to have that register, no matter how woke your school is. So you have to understand that there are some things that we just need to do away with. We need people that are going to think on another level. We can't continue. Insanity is doing the same thing and taking a different result. Yeah. We need people that are going to start transforming. And please, I'm not saying that we need foreigners. I'm not saying that we need, because that is the next thing. Because Nigerians are going abroad and they are the ones taking those foreign countries to another level. So we can do it. Because that's the next thing. They say, let us have it. Because this mindset, this poverty and colonial mentality that we have, that if you don't see a foreigner in a school, it's not a good school. And people actually pitch. Because even when I started the school, they said, Ronke, you must put Oyinbo there. That's how you get plenty of children. And I'm thinking, hello, this is how we think. So we need a complete revamp of the sector, being able to do things completely different. The rules are just too rigid. You know, there's some things that, you know, they would say children must cut their hair to a particular level. Girls must plait their hair in a particular
and they were calling style for
in
you.
2025. And then COVID didn't even change anything. During COVID, you had children with afros, girls with braids, and they were still doing well. So they would wear their shorts and go for their online class. It did not teach us anything that we can still learn without all these kind of rules that we implement on the children.
What are the implications for our country if we don't fix this?
This bus that we are moving, you can see that it's going in different directions. It's going to crash.
Wow. I mean, I have felt very inspired by this conversation, and I don't say that lightly, because whilst you were speaking and we were talking about how everybody, all hands need to be on deck, I've decided that I probably need to go and start volunteering in schools, and I think that that's something that a number of us should do, volunteer in schools, take up courses.
For example, public speaking is something that you can do.
Yes.
And also the issue of assignments.
We'll get back to you.
They want to kill parents with assignments.
We'll get back to you about that.
Ronke Adeniyi, Director and Parent Coach at Porche School. Thank you so much. This was such an insightful